Hey folks, it's Jang here from UltimateRC.com with a quick review of the Traxxas 1/16th scale Boss 302 Mustang RTR. Now they call this 1/16th scale, but in reality it's actually bigger than that. This is closer to a 1/12th scale vehicle. But the reason that they call it 1/16th scale is just because of the chassis that it's based on. It was originally the 1/16th scale Mini E Revo. To convert it over for on-road use, they put the Mini Slash 4x4 arms on it to make it not as wide, and then they also changed out the shocks. The shocks here are much shorter, as are the springs, so it doesn't have nearly as much suspension travel as the original off-road version, but it still has way more travel than a standard on-road car. Now, all of the electronics on this vehicle are waterproof. You've got a waterproof steering servo, a waterproof ESC, and that's a brushed-only ESC, the XL 2.5. It's powering a Titan 12-turn 550-sized brushed motor right out of the 1/10th scales, and you've got a waterproof receiver box also, and that has a very, very, very tall antenna mast, which betrays the 27 megahertz AM receiver that's inside. This chassis does have two battery trays, and the doors open up from the sides like so. You can put two batteries in here, but they have to be wired in parallel for more runtime, not more speed. This does include one battery, a 1200 milliamp hour 6-cell nickel metal hydride pack, and they also do give you a charger, although it's just a wall charger, one of those trickle style ones that takes about 4 to 6 hours to fully charge this small little battery. Focusing on the wheels and tires just briefly, it uses standard sedan size 1/10th scale on-road wheels and tires, and the tires that are included here are slicks, but they have a medium hard compound to them, more designed for longevity than grip. The controller is the original Traxxas TQ radio system. This is the very first radio set that came with my very first hobby grade RC a long time ago. It has this very, very, very long Olympic fencing class antenna. These things hopefully one day will completely go out of style and be replaced by 2.4 gigahertz setups that have very short antennas. Incidentally, if you do get the brushless version of this car, it does come with the 2.4 gigahertz radio set. This one's just AM to keep the costs as low as possible. Okay, driving time. First thing everybody always wants to know about a ready-to-run RC is how fast does it go? Well, this one's about 19 to 20 miles per hour tops with a freshly charged battery. You know, I was really expecting more than that, given that the off-road RTRs, brushed also, powered by the exact same motor, go faster than that. The driving dynamics of this car are very unique for this day and age. It has a ton of body roll with that soft suspension and the high center of gravity with the motor mounted way up in the air. The tires are kind of a unique thing too, because they do have some traction. They're not drift tires, but they're not full grip tires either. On a regular asphalt surface like this, you can get into a drift pretty easily. And I actually found that to be more fun than just driving around with no body roll and 100% grip all the time. For just plain bashing and fun driving purposes, it just seemed more interesting to me. It is not, however, optimized at all for driving on a track. On a well-delineated, well-maintained, smooth track surface, this car's shortcomings were pretty easy to spot. The 70% grip, 30% drift tires were not consistent in turns. However, you can fix that by just changing out the tires themselves. What that isn't going to fix is all that body roll. When the vehicle rolls that much, it's not just the body, but the chassis itself that's going, and with it, it's taking the angle of the wheels and tires, or just changing your camber, which is just making it perform a little bit on the unpredictable side. It has a natural tendency to want to understeer or push in turns, which you need to counteract by getting on the brakes a little bit. Once you do that, it makes the rear end want to start to kick out, and that's where you start to initiate just a little bit of a drift. At that point, it's like doing a tightrope walk. You have to be very careful with your steering input, your corrections, as well as your throttle input to try to ride it right along that line so it doesn't actually spin out on you. It's definitely a challenge, but it is a very enjoyable challenge as long as you don't expect this bashing machine to act like an actual racer. And that right there is the main thing that I got out of this entire driving and testing and reviewing experience for this vehicle. If you want a proper, excellent handling on-road track machine, do not get this. Straight up, forget about it. It has fundamental and major disadvantages that you just cannot overcome by upgrading and customizing it. On the flip side though, I would not want to take a race-tuned on-road sedan onto an off-road track and take it over jumps. But see here, this is the brilliant thing about the way that this car is set up. Because the suspension is so soft and has so much travel, it can handle bumpy textured surfaces without getting all upset and thrown all around. Obviously it is not an off-road car, but realistically driving surfaces for a bashing on-road car more closely approximate what you're looking at right here than the beautiful on-road racing track at NorCal Hobbies. The same things that make it kind of lazy and a little bit on the unpredictable side here on this well-groomed driving surface make it much better than a full-on racing on-road car on a parking lot or just a back road or any sort of asphalt that's not all groomed and prepared and swept and perfectly smooth. In short, this car has its place and it's out here in a parking lot or the cul-de-sac. I'm only a little bit iffy about the price because for a little over $200 RTR, you can get brushed edition, ready to run, full-on 1/10 scale sedan-based on-road cars that will handle much better than this, and for just a little bit more you can get some extra springs and shock oil and tune them up so that they'll be a little bit softer in the suspension and be able to handle bumpier surfaces, while also accepting full-sized, more standard 7.2 or 7.4 volt battery packs, and more common 1/10 scale sized electronics. For my money, I would definitely get a bigger, more standard car. But if you're really interested in this car right here and you've seen what your options are and you like what you see in this video, I'm not going to try to dissuade you because this is a fun car, and in the worst case scenario, if you get bored of it, you can always change out the wheels and tires and shocks as well as body, and then you have a mini slash 4x4. Change out the arms, shocks, body, wheels and tires again. You've got either a mini e-Revo or a mini Summit. There are a lot of things you can do with this little chassis, and in all, it's pretty cool. Well, that's all I have to say about this one. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon in the next video. Bye for now.